You know what's cool? Bionicles are cool. And you know what we're going to talk about today? Well, yeah, it is in fact Bionicles. I got you thinking there, though. You weren't sure. There's a bit of a pause there. You're like, are we actually going to talk about Bionicles? Is Ben just going to ramble on about Star Wars for an hour? Maybe. I still could. It's not too late. But no, we're talking about Bionicles today on this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series, and we're continuing our trend of color-focused episodes. So we've been doing a whole bunch in the past. And today, the color we're going to be focusing on is the color black. So we're going to be showcasing a whole bunch of black marks. But before we do, just want to make something super clear so nothing's taken out of context, and just so we're all on the same page here. When I'm referring to the color of this episode, I'm in no way discriminating against any people, groups of people, or discriminating in any way. I'm simply just stating the symbolism associated with the color black when used in art. I probably don't even need to say this, but I just want to make sure everything's clear, because of course I'm talking about humanoid characters and all that, and I don't want anything taken out of context here, and I just want you to know where I stand. So there you go. Enough of that. Let's move on to the mocks. But like we do in these color-focused episodes, I'm going to read a little snippet from Google, our good friend Uncle Google, and he's going to tell us the symbolism behind the color black. So if you're planning on using it in a mock, what sort of stuff would you be communicating with it? You know, if you've got a yellow mock, it's a little bit more brighter and happy. But with the black mock, what sort of stuff is communicated? So Wikipedia? Where did that come from? Google says, black is associated with power, fear, mystery, strength, authority, elegance, formality, death, evil, aggression, rebellion, and good old sophistication. So a lot of different stuff that it represents. A lot of sort of darker tones, you know? Lurking in the shadows, you've got characters like Makuta. And you take a look at pretty much any of the Makuta sets, black was a pretty common color, you know? It's symbolic of shadows and evil. You take a look at characters like Emperor Palpatine. He's a dude in a big old black cloak. There's symbolism there, shadows and evil, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different mocks and how you can use black effectively in them. So the first mock we've got today, this is by Unijob L and is called Chibi Darth Vader. So what aspects of the symbolism before are represented here? Well, definitely elements of power. Darth Vader is strong in the Force. We got fear. It's how he rules the galaxy. There's a sense of mystery. How did this man get in that armor? Of course, some of those questions are answered these days, but back in the 70s, we didn't know. Definitely strength. Big sense of authority. The Empire is leading the galaxy and Darth Vader is there leading the charge. Big sense of authority. Formality, death, evil, and aggression. All of that is easily conveyed through the character of Darth Vader, and his black armor very heavily plays into that symbolism. The minute he walks onto the Tantive 4 in A New Hope, you see those beautiful, bright, white walls, and then this towering, scary, black armored figure walks on. And it's terrifying, and you instantly know he is the opposite of the good that we've been seeing so far. He is pure evil, the embodiment. He is the bad guy. So heaps of symbolism the team at Lucasfilm packed into this character. And of course it transfers over to here, but it's not necessarily just the connotations behind Darth Vader and the symbol that he is in pop culture, but it's the fact that evil characters very typically have black armor, or black cloaks and clothing and things like that, and that can symbolize the evil within them and their sinister nature, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot behind putting black in a character there. Also a great idea too to build one of your favorite characters, whether it's from a video game, a movie, a TV show. Make them in Lego, man. It's always such a cool way. It's like buying an action figure, you know? It's a way of saying, hey, this aspect of something means so much to me that I want to have it in my house in some form, because I know this universe isn't real, or I know this thing doesn't exist, or maybe it does exist, but it's not tangible. You know, you watch it through TV, you see it on the big screen, that sort of thing. It's a way of making it feel more real, more realistic. It's up close and personal, you know? So if you've got a favorite character that you love so much, why not try and recreate it in Bionicle or Lego or system form in some fashion? Because it's a good way of honoring what you love, you know? And you're passionate about it, you love it, so it's motivating as well. You're not going to struggle too much with making it there. You also have a whole bunch of different Lego sets that relate to Darth Vader. You had the old Technic Darth Vader with the really expensive cape. I don't know if that thing is still $50 on Bricklink, but it was at one point. So if you ever want to pay $50 for a piece of cloth, now's your chance. But you've also got some of those CCBS Darth Vader sets, in which there are a few of those. So lots of different ways that you can play with Darth Vader there and build him in Bionicle form. And hey, there's a whole bunch of other Star Wars characters you could easily build, or characters in general. So maybe that's a way to get your creative juices flowing. This is a fantastic rendition of Darth Vader. And also, let's not ignore the fact, it's a chibi Darth Vader. A cute little tiny bobblehead version of Darth Vader. So hey, why not build your favorite character in a cute little adorable version as well? Save on pieces because it's a little bit smaller, and it's cute and adorable. Everything's great. Everything's fun when it's cute and adorable. On to the next mark. This is by Bionic TB, and this is called Mr. Blackie. So what sort of stuff does the black here symbolize? Because it's different to what Darth Vader symbolized. There's a sense of mystery to this character. Let's of course say before we start covering this is a beautiful, awesome dude in a fancy suit and a nice top hat. There's a sense of mystery behind him. Sometimes you see those rich and powerful people and you go, man, how did they rise to that power? How do they have such wealth and glamour? How did they get there? There's a sense of mystery there. There's a sense of authority too. They have a lot of servants or people that they can order around and tell them what to do. There's definitely a sense of formality, elegance, and oh so nice sophistication there. Always cool, and definitely the suit ties into that, but the nice sleek black of the suit there definitely helps. This is a really nice suit design as well. Those interesting kind of panel pieces that form the sides of the suit here looks fantastic, creates a nice angle there, instantly communicates that it's a suit. The nice white shirt underneath and the red tie there looks fantastic, looks great. You can instantly tell that it's a suit. It's a nicely designed version of it. And that top hat there, using a system sort of circular plate like that, adding some cone pieces on the top there, is a top hat, man. It's a great way of designing it. Pretty simple and effective, And hey, why not put a top hat on your mock? It's a way to make them look very fancy and very cool. So there's a nice sort of sleek, sophisticated look to using black here. And again, it's complemented very well with the white and the red of the clothing under the suit there. It's cool to see. Also, by the way, this mock has a cane. Of course, the cane is black, so there's elements of the same sort of sophistication and elegant symbolism that we were just talking about. But you know what? Canes, they are an underrated thing on mocks. Because a cane can add that level of sophistication and elegance. Or, it can make this old, shriveled mock look a little bit more sinister and evil. The cane there, depending on its shape and size and the way it moves and things like that, can make them look like an evil old witch or something like that. And canes, man, people can twirl those things around. You can use it as a weapon. You can rest on it and stuff like that. Like, I'm not here to advertise canes, but I don't see them enough on mocks these days, man. They're just a underrated thing, and they're super cool. And it does so much. Like, look how much more character it adds to this mock. It's cool, man. Put some canes on some mocks. Hashtag justice for canes. Don't use that hashtag. But there you go. I think it's a cool weapon. I think it's something you could consider using as well. Let's move on to our next mock here. This is by Britannia, and this is called Lego Bionicle Ninja Black Opt version 2. So what sort of symbolism is used in the black color scheme on this mock here? Well, there is definitely a sense of mystery to some degree, of course. This mock is very sort of ninja-esque, and I can argue that there is a bit of a sense of mystery behind certain ninjas. Of course, if you know their backstory and stuff, it's not the case. But they hide in the shadows, they're mysterious, they have a mask on, that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of a sense of mystery. But I would argue there's definitely more of a sense of strength. Definitely a sense of elegance. Certain ninjas can be very smooth flowing and agile. And also a bit of a sense of death as well. Because, a lot of times ninjas are assassins and they can, be very good at combat and take people down, that sort of stuff. So definitely a lot of that's communicated there. But it's interesting as well that the sense of strength and death is very different to how it was with Darth Vader. Darth Vader was more of an aggressive, overburdening, overpowering sense of death, evil, and strength. Whereas this mock is a more elegant sense of strength, a more refined sense of strength. And the death is a little less personal, a little less out of control to some degree. So it's just interesting to notice the two distinct differences. So you can use the color black to symbolize those sort of aspects in a mock, but you could also use it to symbolize the same thing, but from a different point of view to some degree. So it's something to note and something to factor in, because this is something I stress in every color scheme episode. Just because there is a specific symbolism behind a color doesn't mean you have to focus in on that. You yourself could go, okay, yeah, that can symbolize, evil and death, but I'm just going to put black on this mock because I can. I don't need it to symbolize something. It can just be, I used black because I wanted to, or I just had a bunch of it and I decided to do it. The symbolism can be there if you choose for it to be, or if you look for it, but otherwise, it doesn't have to be. So don't feel pressured into using it because it has to fit into something. But by all means, if you want to communicate something, the color scheme is such a good way to do so. Anyway, black and silver here, really nice. It works. black is a color that goes so well with everything. I mean, I'll put a pin in that for now. I'll cover more on it later. But silver is another color that goes well with everything. So, of course, it's a good combo to have the two together. And I like that black is slightly more prominent, because sometimes having a little too much silver can be a little bit too much. So it's nice to see that kind of toned down here. But a thing I really like about the silver being toned down on this mock is the silver's actually communicating certain things. There's a bit of silver on the head here, and it kind of almost makes it look like he's got bit of like a bandana or a headband or something above him, which I really like that. It's quite fitting. It works for this sort of more ninja aesthetic. Then you take a look at the feet here, and there's a bit of silver focused on the front. Kind of looks like it could be some sort of like sandals or something, kind of continuing that aesthetic, looking cool. And then I also like the silver more focused on the chest here, maybe some sort of like straps or just a little bit of chest armor or something to protect him in his ninja endeavors. I like that. So the silver is being blocked out in a specific way so that it's saying, hey, I'm this thing, which is interesting. And a great way of playing with the color there, that it specifically becomes a different color on the mock because it is a specific thing, if that makes sense. So I really like that. Some really nice color blocking there. Another thing I like too is the stand on this mock and the crazy poses that this guy's in. Really cool. If you look at the stand carefully, you can see that there's a bit of a hinge on it there. I like the idea of building a more posable stand so that you can really, really effectively pose this mock, get him in some crazy poses, have him, have his feet touching the floor, or have him mid-air jumping, and the stand is sort of strong enough to hold him up like that. And that way, if you're someone who loves posing your mocks, it'll help you out there for sure. So I like that a lot. It's cool. A really nice ninja aesthetic to this mock. On to the next one. This is by David Doki, and it is called Garyun, Tower of Earth. So, of course, in the Bionicle storyline, Tower of Earth, you got Winnower, Onawa, a whole bunch of other different characters there, and their color scheme was black, sometimes mixed with a bit of gray, a few other things sometimes thrown in there depending on the Tower that you're looking at. But definitely that's the color to be picking if you want to build a Tower of Earth. But also, what other stuff does this mock have with its black color scheme? What sort of stuff is being symbolized here? Well, I think there's definitely a sense of power, strength, and to some degree authority. This mock is a bit more heavy set, a bit larger. You definitely see that he's sort of maybe the brute or the strong one in the team here. And definitely the sense of authority because, naturally he's larger. He could be more commanding and just takes up more space, which, communicates a slight sense of authority. I don't know if this guy is the Toa leader in some Toa team or anything like that, but hey, I can get that sense there just from his naturally large, heavy-set look. So purple and red being complemented nicely here with the black color scheme works well. Of course, we've got a Galador torso being used there. It looks fantastic and works well with a whole bunch of CCBS pieces and blended in nicely with some Bionicle there. Of course, something I like is, having a more primarily black color scheme that doesn't have too many other colors thrown in there. It's just something effective and nice. And something that's so nice about black too, though, is that there's very few colors that it doesn't complement. Black more or less goes with everything. And that's just great, It's cool. So if you are looking for a really nice color scheme, but you're not too sure where to go, focusing in on black isn't a bad idea because everything complements it, The red here works, the purple here works, it's cool. And I might quickly transition into the next mock here because what I'm talking about actually does directly relate to that. So let's do that now, actually. Great work, David, there. You've done some awesome stuff. But let's move on to the next one, which is Shadow by Shadow Gear 6335. So I was saying before that so many colors tie directly into black. This mock here is that Keat orange yellow color combined with black. And I feel like you can so easily use any kind of base color, your reds, your greens, anything, and complement it very effectively with black. And especially the sort of more primary colors, they very effectively stand out against black, Certain colors, maybe like a dark blue, blend very closely with black, and that can work. But they really pop when there are some of those brighter, more primary colors. So play around with that sort of stuff, because anything works with it, really. So what is the black color scheme of this mock symbolizing here? I think there's definitely a sense of fear, mystery, a little bit of authority, elegance, slight sense of formality, but I reckon that's because he's got a cane. We've got another mock with a cane here, boys. It's good. Definitely a sense of death and evil. I think a lot of that comes out in the mask here, as well as this more sort of sinister-looking hooded design. You're getting a lot of that there. but also a nice sense of sophistication. And again, I think that's coming from the cane here, because he definitely looks like one of those villains that their power isn't necessarily in their abilities or their combat skills. It's in their mind. It's in their strategic planning and thought. And, I can see him sort of holding the cane and just sort of maniacally laughing kind of thing. This is a cool looking kind of villain character. And of course, like I said at the start, a lot of Makuta characters in the Bionicle storyline had black color schemes, so it's something you could play around with for sure. And I think a cane would work very well with it. Another thing that I think is really important to remember is how many capes you can play with if you're using a black color scheme. So many of the Lego cape pieces are black. There's a few in red and grays and a few other different colors there, tans as well, of course, but probably about 80% of them are black. And that's a statistic I randomly made up, but there was a lot. You take a look at pretty much any Bionicle set. In fact, I'd almost be willing to say, maybe I'm forgetting something, but I'm 90% sure every Bionicle set came with a black cape whenever they came with a cape. And you had Hero Factory, and those were pretty much primarily black too. And it wasn't until we got into Star Wars Ultra Build sets that they came in other colors. But again, a bunch of them are black. Star Wars in their black capes, man. It works. So if you do want to play around with some cloth elements and capes and things, you got a lot of black capes you can play with. So it's working in your favor there. That's pretty cool. So don't forget your capes. On to the next mark. This is a good one. It's by Mitch Phillips and it's called Hyena Pack. So I love this aesthetic straight up. Just a really cool dude and his dogs. The idea of this very menacing character that has a little horde of little pack of dogs here. It's just cool. It's a nice aesthetic. It's certainly something that's inspiring me here. But what does the black color scheme communicate? Definitely fear. Because this mock kind of has this post-apocalyptic look, especially the main character, this big gas mask apparatus that's around his head and all these different tattered cloths. It looks like he's been through some stuff. And the fact he has a gas mask as well implies that he's in not a very hostile environment. Well, he's in a very hostile environment. My apologies there. Yeah, it's cool. So definitely a sense of fear. Definitely a sense of strength. Strength in numbers, him having this pack here. Definitely a sense of death as well. I'm sure these dogs are not too friendly. Well, it may be friendly to his owner here, but not to strangers. Definitely a sense of evil too. I mean, the piercing white up against this black here is menacing, man. That's scary stuff. And I guess you could argue a bit of aggression. A whole pack of barking dogs there. It can get very out of hand and very aggressive for sure. So I love it. Like I was saying, of course, a bunch of capes being used here. A lot of black capes. You can see a lot of them on this mock here. It uses a fair amount of them, actually. It's cool. Another great use of some colors here that complement black well. The gold and the black there looks fantastic. Really, really works here. But yeah, like I was saying before, the black and the white there, two very, very nice colors that complement each other very well. And really, really pop against each other. So great idea to use black and white there. I mean, hell, Michael Jackson wrote a song about it. It must be a good color scheme. Another thing, too, that I haven't mentioned. I'm sure if you're looking at your Lego collection right now, you realize you have a lot of black pieces. Whether it's System or Bionicle, black is just a very common color. So you probably have a lot of it. So, often people can say I don't have enough pieces, man. Well, you probably have a fair bit of black. So have a look at it. See what you can play with and see how you can use those black pieces and see what's up. See what you can do with them. Because you probably have a lot of them, which gives you more possibilities, of course, because you can play with more pieces and see what you can come up with. That being said, sometimes limiting yourself and building in a sort of smaller part selection can spike up your creativity. So, hey, maybe you don't have a lot of black. Well, play within those boundaries and see where you go. Anyway, brilliant mock here. Great aesthetic. Great kind of combination of mocks here as well. Really love it. Fun fact, by the way, I believe I read somewhere that Mitch was saying he's actually only built one dog, and the sort of main owner here as well. He just photoshopped the same dog into the multiple pictures and posed it in different ways, so it looks like he has a pack. Great idea. Really, really clever. Something you could do yourself as well. If you want to create the aesthetic that you have more than one thing, and you're a bit of a Photoshop wizard, maybe that's something you could do. Be a fun thing to do for sure. Or go on Bricklink and buy enough pieces to build multiple of the same thing. Why not? But that's more expensive. So if you're looking for a cheaper solution, that might be the way. This is by BD and is called, oh dear lord, C7B69B2D-1A89-4C95-B3A-F8F9DF19FC39. I need a drink of water now. I kid. But, long name. Long name, but a fitting name, and I like it. And I actually really, really like this mock. This is a part of a little bit of a collab between a few different builders here, but this was easily my favorite. But before I say why, let's say what the black communicates here. Definitely a sense of fear and mystery. This thing looks so alien and different and odd and unique and out of this world, you know? Definitely a sense of fear and mystery behind it. Strength and authority. I get this real sense of like an alien creature, you know, looking to dominate, which I believe is a bit of the backstory behind this. A bit of a sense of formality too, like the idea of, you know, surrender or be destroyed, you know, kind of fall in line, that sort of sense of formality, as well as death and evil, because, you know, crazy alien robot trying to take over and, you know, scatting around and doing scary things. It's pretty cool. A quick note on the color scheme, and then I'll say why I love this thing so much. Trans colors in black. Another thing that works well. We spoke before about just, you know, any kind of base color and black works well. But don't forget your trans colors too, because they work very nicely, especially here. This beautiful, strong, large trans blue Ninjago spinner piece at the top here, combined with some boat studs and a few other things, works really well. Definitely kind of gives it this sort of, alien look. It looks sort of almost slightly mechanical, but slightly like a back of a jellyfish, more organic. And that actually leads me very neatly and nicely into why I love this mock so much. It's this beautiful blend of organic and mechanical. This thing reminded me of a probe droid in Star Wars, which is such a beautiful, like, mechanical droid. But then, you know, you see the tails kind of coming out and forming this very, like, almost like kind of jellyfish sort of flowing organic line at the bottom. And then you look at the beautiful trans blue dome at the top, which, like I said, either looks like the insides of a computer circuit board, or it also could look like the sort of top bulb of a jellyfish. I'm getting so many, like, contrasting textures and shapes and kind of line styles and textures that look both organic but also look mechanical. You know, kind of the bulk of this mock is that beautiful technical mechanical, like all those sort of antennas poking out, these like arms and like wires and things, and then it's flowing so neatly into these smooth flowing, almost living textures and designs. It's beautiful. It literally looks like a Star Wars probe droid that's come to life, and that is now organic to some degree, or a sort of cyborg, you know, combination of the two. Some really, really nice texture play. It's a simple mock, man, but technically there's a lot going on. It's just super, super cool. Really cool. But that's enough for that one. Let's move on to the next one. And the last one. This is by Alessandro Messora. It's tradition to pronounce names wrong on this channel. And this mock is called The Beast. So I really like this mock. And I think this mock is a brilliant example of just a purely black color scheme. Because, you know, like I said, black is such an easy color to work with. And, you know, if you struggle a little bit with color scheme, there's nothing wrong with just doing a primarily black mock. Because sometimes, you know, your color blocking, your color layering, and just neatly having a not too messy kind of color scheme can be a little difficult. But, you know, if you just want to just not worry about color scheme, just do a purely black mock. I mean, sure, this mock has little bits of white in it, but that's very, very tiny. But hey, you know, it's something to consider. Will it work if you do it that way? I think so. But definitely one of my favorite things on this, but before I get to that, I'm jumping the gun. What does the black in this mock symbolize? I think a sense of strength, elegance, but also sophistication. I think that this mock has this beautiful, like, it's a very large, broad, big-chested, powerful-looking mock. So there is that sense of strength behind it. But it kind of looks like he's a bit of a softie under all of that. You look at the K2SO eyes here. I love that he's put that Hero Factory shell piece just over the top of the mouth, so kind of hiding the more kind of droid-looking aspects of it. And you just kind of focus in on the eyes on K2SO, on that headpiece there. There's such a sense of, like, empathy in those eyes, such a sense of almost like loneliness and just emotion behind them. And I really like that. And so this mock to me just seems like this very empathic, very emotionally driven character that's very strong and, you know, probably doesn't use his strength. Is more of an empathic person than a physical kind of person. I love how much those eyes are communicating here, and how adding the armor in front of that headpiece there is really accenting and drawing them out. It's really cool. And I like the little pop of white with the kind of Imperial logos on his knees there. That also kind of helps to accent the white, just sort of subtly reminds you, like, don't look at the black, look at the white, look at the empathy behind this character, not the brute strength behind him. And additionally, you see that, I think, too, with the legs and the arms. They're a little bit more slimmed down, you know, the hands that sort of touch and interact with the world. that are more empathic to some degree, or the feet that, maybe tread on grass and tread on flowers and things. He's a little more gentle down in that area, in that regard. Some really nice symbolism in this thing, and it's not even necessarily about the color scheme too. I love that. That's another thing too, the amount of symbolism that's behind the color that you're not focusing on. I think there's so much more symbolism in the white in this mock than there is in the black in this mock. I don't know, that's really cool to me. I love that. Some really nice stuff being played with here. Really, really nice use of pieces and some really nice symbolism here. That's quite unique and quite different, in all honesty there. I love that. So that has been 8 mocks with a black color scheme. Thank you for watching this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you're like, man, I wish my stuff was on this old Bionicle inspiration series, well, it can be. If you see the email that is on your screen currently, that is the submission email for the Bionicle inspiration series. If you send me some images or a link, information, anything you feel is necessary to put in there, do so, and then once you've submitted it to that email address, I will add it to the list, and one day it'll appear on the show. I always do my best to, every episode, put at least 1 or more submissions, if I can, in there, and I pretty much always do that. So there's always a chance, my friends. There's always a chance. But if you enjoyed this episode and you want to leave a comment on it, you can't because of the Cooper law changes. But you can, of course, leave your thoughts on any of my social media, whether that's Instagram, the Facebook group that we've got going. You could send me a tweet on my Twitter account. You could send me a personal message on Flickr or Instagram, or you could jump on over onto the Discord server and share your thoughts in the video discussion tab over there. And while you're there, you may as well hang around and stay because there's some great conversations happening over there, and I'm always joining in there as well. So if you also want to have a nice chat with me, you can, as long as I'm awake, because time zones. Also, while you're looking in the description for all that stuff, be sure to check out the links to the mocks you saw in today's episode. These guys are some super talented people, and they deserve a little bit of love if you want to throw it at their stuff. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next color-themed, color scheme episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series, or I'll just see you in the next episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series, or both. Why not? See you then. Happy building. Bye for now, and get to building some mocks with some black in their color scheme. See you soon, guys.